Welcome to Drinking Water Podcast. We have our special guest today, Mr. Rod Richard, aka Coach Rod. Coach Rod is a son, a brother, a husband, a father, a homeowner, athletic coach, motivator, investor. I found that out today. A fatherhood coach, an entrepreneur, co-director of performance at the shop. Man, you wear a lot of hats. And I think too, and let me say this, I think we all do, and I think that sometimes the reason why I did that introduction, we need to recognize how much we do. And yeah, I saw that for you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I've had on several hats already today, but I'm used to it. So I'm doing good. A matter of fact, I got a hat on right now. If you guys are watching it.
I see it. I see it. So what I want to talk about today is the fatherhood coach hat, and go through that. When did you start that?
Coaching or fatherhood or both or
Both. We
coaching
could go
fathers.
both. Coaching fathers, the fatherhood,
Oh,
yeah,
okay, yeah, yeah,
coaching
yeah, yeah.
fathers
Okay,
part.
good stuff. Good stuff. So I think it started unofficially in 2019, maybe 2018 actually. But I say like as a thing that I was doing in 2019, and it really came from coaching athletes actually. I had my first daughter, my oldest daughter, in 2012. While I was training athletes, training professional athletes, college, high school athletes pretty much from eight to Olympic gold medals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And being in the industry, I had the privilege of watching the athletes not only grow in their athleticism but grow in their life. And guys, who I coached as high school kids were now professional athletes starting their own families. And guys are becoming fathers and making that transition. And I had been a father for a few years, so they start asking me questions. As it goes, right? When you know somebody that's got a little inside story, you start to ask them questions, and we start having our conversations during workouts. Went from talking about something we saw on Sports Center to when my daughter wouldn't sleep last night. Like, what do you do?
Yeah, yeah,
We're going through 11, 12 diapers a day. Like, what's the, we start having those conversations.
yeah.
And so that's why I say it started kind of like informally with that. It's just like, hey, man, this is what I've experienced in my time as a father. I'm by no means an expert, but I'm a step ahead of where you are. This is what we did. How about you try that? Some insight because because I realized for myself that fatherhood was my purpose. Like, I do a bunch of stuff, as you mentioned. I wear a bunch of hats, but my core purpose is to be the father to my daughters. I did a lot of research. Like, I read a lot of books. I watched all the YouTube videos I could find. I listened to all the podcasts. So I felt like I had like I had some insight to actually give. Like, I wasn't just out there throwing bro science at them, like, just saying some stuff that sounded good. I felt like I was responsible enough, and I had a good enough grasp on where I was as a father that I could pass back some information. So it started
So
started
can
with
I
that
interrupt
group
you
of
real
guys.
quick? So going back when your first daughter, because you
Hmm.
have two,
Yes.
two. Okay, your first daughter or your oldest daughter. How did that change you as a coach from before and as a coach after the birth? I know I used to coach, and I know it changed me dramatically. Like I used to coach wrestling, and I coached it for 15 years. And once I had the boys, I got kind of soft. And my past kids that I coached before, they'll come back. Hey, coach, why you let them do this? Why you? I go. And I didn't even know I was. I thought I was still the hard coach, but they said, man, you kind of got soft.
Hmm.
But how have it changed you in the coaching when it comes to athletes?
Yeah, you know what? I think what happened, to be honest, is it changed me as a person all the way around,
Got you.
right? Like, prior to that, I was before we found out that my wife was pregnant, I was coaching strength and conditioning with the New York Mets. I was chasing not chasing the bag, but I was chasing the idea of this is what strength conditioning is. This is your trajectory you want to be on. You want to be a professional strength coach. That's like the top, right? And then I found out we were going to have a kid, and immediately it was like, this isn't the most important thing in the world, right? Like,
Yeah.
the most important thing in the world, I'm going to get to meet them in 10 months or 9 months or whatever, right? And so from that moment on, I treated my coaching as before it was like the end all to be all. Like my standards are still high. Like my standard doesn't change, but my understanding of each person became a little bit more in depth, right? Like I looked at athletes before as soldiers, right? You're following orders. You're just doing it. You're doing this, doing that. And then they became people to me all of a sudden. And I was like, oh man, the reason why, maybe today, and I would say they would think I was soft, right? Like if kids aren't giving like 100%, 120%, which is what you expect of them as a coach, you got to give 110, even though that's not realistic. I'm now like, I understand it because you had a game or a tournament this weekend. You can only give me 70%. 70% today is your 100. Then my standard's still the same. I still don't want. It went from I need 110% to I need the best that you can give me, right? Yes. And I had more understanding of them as people.
Yeah.
And the boys will tell you I'm not easy by any means, but I have an understanding. Like I became more personable as a coach. I wasn't as much as a tough guy, typical in your face yelling strength coach that you get. I became, as they would say now, Coach Rod. Right. I had kids that it's funny. I had a girl that I ran into the other day that I coached from like 8th grade through high school. She went to play in college, and I ran into her the other day, and she was like, "Man, I was so scared of you." I'm like, what? Why? Like, we're having this conversation. She was like, I almost didn't even come over and talk to you because I was just so nervous. And I was like, oh, dang, man, I'm sorry that I made you feel that way. Like, it wasn't personal, but she was like, I was so scared of you. She's like, I thought you were a great coach, but I was just so scared. And I'm like, I changed when I had my daughters, and I was like, I'm going to treat these athletes like people because for the most part, as you know, a lot of them just become regular people. Right. There's thousands. Eventually, even if they become professional athletes, eventually they go back to being regular people. Like the careers are only so long. And if you don't treat them like people, you damage their relationship to fitness. You damage their relationship to athletics. Like there's so much more responsibility that I took on as I became a father. It was like I'm responsible for, just like as a father, I'm responsible for somebody's childhood. I'm responsible for somebody's athletic childhood, and I had to take more care with that.
Got you. Now, okay, so moving forward to fatherhood, who is your mentor? Because you said you listened to videos, you read books. So what was that one moment? I call it the drinking water moment where you said, all right, let me start drinking more of this water. Let me start listening and let me put this into action. So is there one person that gave you that?
You know what? I can't say that it was one person. I think when I decided, or I had that drinking water moment, I was drinking water from the faucet. I was drinking water from a bottle. I was drinking water from a cup. I was drinking water from anywhere I can get water, because what I realized all of a sudden is that, my dad was in my life. He was present. I had a stepfather who raised me pretty much until I was 18, and then him and my mom separated. But I realized that we never had fatherhood conversations. Like we never talked about what fatherhood was going to be or the type of man that I needed to be in fatherhood. Like they had showed me through who they were, but the conversations had never been had. And so all of a sudden I was a father and I had no reference other than my childhood understanding of what a father was, if that makes sense, right? Because I had only seen them as a father. I was a kid, right? And just when you're a kid, the fathering is like, he's mean, or he's he's strict, And so I was like, man, is that all it is? And I just kind of went on my own journey of like, I didn't think there's all these books during pregnancy is like what to do when you're expecting, and all these they're really just for like pregnancy, right? They don't teach you about fatherhood. They're more about mom and what mom is going through and like all that kind of stuff. They kind of get you to be sympathetic or empathetic to that journey, but they don't really teach you about fatherhood. So honestly, man, I was everywhere. I was listening to everything. Anybody that had something to say about fatherhood. You know what I really leaned into though was leadership, and it's funny, it's like business books, because those books about leadership really had a lot to say about what I thought I could do as a father. Like I knew fatherhood is a leadership role. Yeah. And I was in the business, building a business at the time, and so that really resonated with me. But I didn't have one vein that I was going to. I was all over the place.
And I think that's for our fathers. We try to look for. I know for me, I got really into Eric Thomas.
But yeah, man. Oh, if you want it as bad as you want to breathe.
Yeah,
then you'll be
yeah,
successful,
yeah.
right?
That
Man, I
hit
say it
me
all the
hard.
time. I say it all the time. There
It
was this
hit me
guru,
hard.
right?
Yeah. So what we used to do, my brother and I, we used to have these, and the kids would go, "Dad, don't ET us today," or they go, "Uncle Tommy, stop ETing us." Because I would try to hit him hard with something every time I see him. And my
Yeah.
brother started doing the same. And then once we get friends that came over, they're going to get some of this ET, you
Oh
know?
yeah.
So yeah, we went in hard. Why do you think there is a growing need for fatherhood coaching today?
Well, part of what I just said is like I think the generation before us was a generation of fathers who came from a generation of fathers who didn't talk much, who just went out and did the work, right? Like your sole responsibility was provision. So guys went out and worked, and they came home, they went to sleep, or they ate, they went to sleep, they went back to work, right? So then our fathers didn't have a whole lot to go on, and so they gave us what they got, right? Like I said, my
Yeah,
dad, as involved in my life as he was, and all my sports and school and all that stuff, we just didn't have those conversations, right? We just didn't
yeah.
have that talk. And so I think
And I
this
don't know if
generation,
anybody does.
yeah,
Like when you
right?
look, yeah, like even with my boys, we don't talk to them about being a father. I just try to be the example,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
Like to have it, hey, we need to sit down. This is how you be a father. I don't know. And I always say there's no manual to this,
right.
and it sounds like you're trying to put one out there, which is great when we need it.
Yeah, so I agree. I agree. There is no manual to it, right? But I think there's some guidelines that we can share. You know what I mean? Like even if we don't have the conversation, or because I think there's this kind of like I don't want to start talking to my son about fatherhood because then if I make it sound too good, he's gonna be a dad too early. You know what I mean? And so even if we wait until he says, "Hey, Dad, I'm gonna be a father," and we have the conversation then, right? But there has to be something because we've been allowed to get into fatherhood without any instructions, right? There is no manual,
Yeah,
but we could at
yeah.
least be like impart some wisdom,
Like there's
or you know what I
marriage
mean?
counseling. There's training for every career you want to go to, but there's no father training, no
And
fatherhood
it's the
training.
most important one, right? The
Yes.
fathering is the most important job any man will ever have, and there's no training program.
Should that be taught in church?
I think your faith and your religion leads you and how you lead your family. So I do think that the church has a big part of it. I think your faith plays a major role in how you father, but I don't know if we put that responsibility solely on the church,
Church.
right? Because
Gotcha.
I think it is something that is multifaceted, and it's something that probably should come from the closest source, which I would say is your father, right?
Yes.
But in the absence of that, in the absence of that father, which unfortunately is a larger problem in the world than it should be, in the absence of that
Yes.
father, there should be a father figure or a mentor or there should be some other source that provides that information.
Yes.
But the church
Yes.
should play a major. I think that just like anything else that the church is involved in, and I know they got a ton of things that people lay at their feet. I
Yeah.
think parenting, just like marriage counseling, you can go to church and get marriage counseling, right? Like a pastor may not even say he might not even marry you unless you go to counseling with him.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
wouldn't it be the same thing with parenting?
For parenting. Yeah. So Tommy said this to me probably his sophomore year in college. He said, "Dad, I am not parenting like you parent." He said, "You're too strict." I said, "Okay." I said, "That's fine." I go, "But let you know that I have not met a person that haven't parented like they've been parented."
Mm-hmm.
So there's some things we tweak. Like, hey, if I'm gonna do spankings or if I'm gonna do this or there's things we tweak, but our style is kind of like you just said, our father, the closest person to us. And so then fast forward 3 years from then, he calls me up because now he's dealing with kids. They were both working at a summer camp
Mm-hmm.
and they had to deal with little kids, right? Gymnastics and stuff like that. And he said, "Dad, thank you for the way I've been raised." He goes and he tells I'm gonna raise my kids like that, blah blah blah, the discipline. I was like, man, I know I didn't have a book, I didn't have anything. I just did what my parents, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So yeah, yeah. So going on the coaching, are there challenges that fathers may face that you can address? And then how do you address those?
Yeah. I would say two of the most common, right? One of them earlier in fatherhood, the other one kind of as you get into it. I think the early in fatherhood thing it's kind of two parts, right? It's like there's this concern of if I'm going to be doing a good job. Like, am I going to be a good father?
All the time.
Right? Like you just don't
time.
know because you've never done it before. You know how important it is. You know how much responsibility it is. And you're just like, what am I going to do? Am I going to be good enough? Right? There's figuring out that question. And then it's compounded for those who didn't have an active father in their life. Right? Because I don't even have an example. Like, I don't know. Like, I never even experienced it. My mom was getting Father's Day gifts kind of thing. Right? And it's like, so I don't know what to do, number one. And then if I figure it out, I don't know if I'm going to do a good job. Yeah. And then the second one comes later on down the line is the idea of presence versus provision, right? Like, I got to go out and provide for my family, but because of the way that I have to go provide, I'm not able to be present. When I'm home, I'm tired from work, and so I'm not showing up the way I want to show up. I think both of those kind of start at the root with the same answer is there has to be some clarity on who you are and who you want to be, right? Like where I am right now, is this who I want to be as a father? And is who I am right now who I want to continue to be as a father, right? And then as we get clarity on that, we can make some adjustments. When you're just starting off as a father, you don't know. Like, nobody knows. Like, you don't even know. You can really only father. And this is really interesting kind of way to look at it is as I can only parent my child based on my child, right?
Yes.
Like,
yes,
you've got two boys, right? And I've worked with them. They're different. They're very different animals, right? Like, they're different. And so you have to parent them differently. Like, you may still have the same rules and you have the same standards and the things that in this household, this is the way that we do things. But the way that I convey the message to you versus the way that I convey the message to him is different. But you both got to toe the line, right? And I know that if I go, my daughter's the same way. My oldest daughter, I can coach her, right? Yeah. Like, I can get on her and I can be Coach Rod, right? And she responds to it. Yeah. My youngest daughter is personal. Like, I'm attacking her. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she doesn't receive it the same way. She takes it all personal. Like, I'm attacking her. Yeah. And so I can only be to them what they are able to receive. And I think that's something we have to think about too, is like a conversation goes two ways. It's not a conversation if they don't understand what I'm saying. So I have to be able to say it in a way that they understand. So when you're starting off in fatherhood, just you have to kind of figure out who your kid is, right? You have to be curious about who they are so that you can parent them. And the reality is you were blessed with that child. So when you're thinking to yourself, am I going to do this right, or am I enough? The answer is 100% yes, because you are exactly who that child needs. Yes. You can be better, don't get me wrong, right? Because you can always be better, but you were chosen for that child. Yes. So you have to let go of that. Yeah, you have to let go of that, like that uncertainty, and embrace the fact that you are the dad that God chose for that child.
Man, that's a hard thing to do. I got to tell you, that's a hard thing to do, and that's a challenge. I mean, even now, it's still a challenge. It's a challenge when you hear your kids and they tell stories, right? And I'm always worried about scars. Am I leaving scars? You know, am I leaving something that's going to be there down the line? It's going to show up. And it's funny because there was a podcast I think Khalil did, and he talked about something that I said that I told him, nope, don't come home. You stay where you're at. And this was when he was in college, right? I said, nope, don't come home. He said, man, and he tells a story that he was sleeping in his car. My dad wouldn't let me come home and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, whoa. I said that? Hold on, man. I'm going to have to edit this out because Khalil's calling me right now. Hold on. Let me see if I can get him on speaker. Hey, Khalil, I'm on the podcast, remember?
Yeah. No.
Say that again? Okay. Bye. Sorry about that. He chose this time to try to come over. Let me go get it. I'm going to click the gate real quick.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. Where was I? I was on that story. So I told him the story was I told him not to come home. And I said, man, we talked about it. He goes, Dad, you're okay. You're okay. You did the right thing. And I'm like, man, I don't want to leave any scars. It's bad enough that I feel bad for the whoopings I was giving him. Because he's right here.
No, he didn't. Don't let him lie to you. He didn't feel bad.
What's up, big man?
So like I've always talked about scars, like, hey, and I try to, I get them to talk about it. Like we talked about a lot of things. When it comes to, I'm just throwing a nugget in here. I've always tell dads and parents, period. I always tell them that when you parent, there's going to be stages and I'm probably going to get my number wrong, every 5 years, you're probably going to have to change the type of parent that you are. There's that elementary, there's a middle school, and there's a high school, and probably their senior year. For me, I really started backing off. Like I started, all right, you're becoming an adult, you're becoming a man. I laid the foundation. God's got you. I'm done. God, I mean, like even when it came to sports, I even did the same thing with that. When they got to high school, I said, all right, this is you guys. You guys got it now. I don't got to coach. I don't got to go to all the games. I don't want to. But I did. Don't get me wrong. I did. But what I did what my job allowed me to do. But gave it to them, whatever the training they need, I try to instill. And then as adults, now I'm totally like, hey, you guys make these decisions. I'll give you advice, but I'm not trying to convince you to do anything. And I try to tell them, hey, now, like we're friends now. I'm still dad. You can't bro me, but we're friends.
Right.
So it's just different stages. So how has the traditional role of a father evolved? Do you think it evolved?
Man, I think I'm going to answer that, but I want to kind of go back to what you just said.
Okay.
I think that was important. I think that was, no. I think that was really important. And I just want to kind of put a thumb on it, right? You talked about worrying about leaving scars. I do think being self-reflective the way you are and the way you're talking about is extremely important. I think what sometimes we miss about scars is a scar is only a scar because it's protective now. Right? Like when you get a cut, that tissue that comes back is a stronger tissue so that you don't receive the same pain again.
Gotcha.
And so I think some scar tissue is necessary. Like it's necessary for growth. We're talking about like working out, building muscle, like the tissue has to break down in order to build up stronger. So I think there is some of that I think sometimes now, and this is why I want to bring it back, is in that changing of the quote unquote modern father is we are protecting our children from those scars sometimes too much, right? Like there's a lesson to be learned that we are now guarding them from, right? Like we don't want them to get hurt because we know better. Like we've got the years of experience. We know that that's going to hurt you. So we'll shield you from it. But what we're doing is removing the experience and the growth and the understanding that you may potentially get from it. Like, obviously, you don't want to abuse your children. Like, you don't want to create those type of scars where someday they're sitting on a couch talking about you to a therapist. But you do need to do some things in order to help them build the resilience that they'll need when they leave your house. Right? Like you're talking about the stages of fatherhood, and you got like your early stage where you're like a caretaker, and then in the middle you're kind of like you're like their coach, and then when you're at where you're at now, you're kind of like the consultant, right? They come to you to ask you questions about what they're going to do. Yeah. They're not asking you for permission anymore. They're just asking you. So I think though, as the caretaker, it doesn't mean that you put them in a bubble. Right. You have to let them bang themselves kind of against the edges because that's how the edges expand. That's how they grow. I think the change in modern fatherhood is kind of like I said, we're being too cautious sometimes. I think like we're putting a little bit too much of our own understanding of the pitfalls of life, and we're shielding them from that and not allowing them to grow. I think there are some good parts of that.
Isn't that the natural way though? This because there's things that the reason why I was so hard about kids because I know how I was.
Mm-hmm.
We were spoiled. I mean, I was spoiled. I got away with a lot. I did a lot. So then I took that and then I go, you ain't getting away with the stuff I got away with.
Okay.
But what I got away with and those scars and what have you mold me. But I think in every generation, we all try to protect our kids from these hurts. Mm-hmm. It's up to, and like I tell both of them, it's up to you to listen. We've been through this. I think I told Tommy at the time, I was 30-something years old. I said, Man, he said, Dad, why every time I tell you about something, you got something that you experienced? I said, because I'm 38 years old. I lived 38 years. What do you think? You're not unique. And it's even in the Bible. There's things that still happening today. It ain't unique.
Right.
So yeah.
I think what the difference might be, and you're right, that is the natural progression. But I think the difference now might be like my father learned from his father, and he's found some things that he wanted to do differently, right? But his only contact points were his father and maybe some other fathers in the neighborhood. The difference now is I have my father. I have you now because I'm social media. I got fathers on TV. Like I have all of these different access points of things that I want to shield my kid from versus like you were just doing what you did based on your father, right?
That's true. Yeah.
But now this generation of fathers is like, okay, my father did this, and then I just heard from this podcast that they're going to do that, and I heard from this. Yeah. So now I'm literally like every corner I'm putting a bumper on, like, you know, because I have more knowledge of things to be afraid of. Just like if you look outside right now, I don't remember where you guys live, but if I go outside right now, I know there's a lot of kids in my neighborhood. There's a school, it's a K-8 school, like 2 blocks away. You go outside, you don't see no kids at all, right? Like, but that's because parents there's obviously, you know, video games and all that stuff too, right? We can blame them all we want to, but on the backside of that, parents are like, they're not letting their kids go outside and play because now we're fully aware of all the dangers outside, right? Yeah, and so now we'd rather our kids play inside the house. We don't let our kids go over other people's house because we know predators are over, like we don't trust them. So everybody can come over our house and their parents feel the same way. So nobody goes over anybody's house.
Nobody goes,
Because we have all of this now knowledge that we didn't have before, we are hamstringing our kids maybe more than. And so, yes, it is the natural progression, but just like the internet, it went from like dial up to full blown social media in a few years, right?
So as a coach, how do you coach that in a person? Like, how do you coach that in a cautious dad?
Well, I think one of the things is you have to cultivate your community. Okay. The people that you're going to be around, your quote unquote band of brothers or your circle of friends. I think I've got a group of guys I've got a couple of groups of guys, but I got a group of guys we're really tight because I don't have any brothers and my sisters live all over the country. I got a group of guys who are husbands, just like I'm a husband. They got kids just like I got kids. So I'm able to allow my children to go over somebody's house and play outside or you know what I mean? Like I've created an environment for them that I feel is safe, that I don't have to worry about. I'm not going to not let them do these things because I think that they're important. There's so much stuff that we learned by riding our bikes 10 miles away from our house and our parents had no idea where we were. You know what I mean? There's so many things that we learned about time management by having to be back in the house before it got dark without having a watch on. You know what I mean? Like there's so many things in the world that we gained experience from that I still want to provide to my children. So I have to create the environment that I want to see, right? Like I'm purposefully in my neighborhood talking to neighbors and spending time, you know, when they have events and doing things like that, because I remember my neighborhood being like that. And that's why it was easy for us to go outside and play, because my mom knew everybody on the block. And if I got in trouble at Mr. Jefferson's house, Mr. Jefferson, if he didn't handle it, he was telling, right? He was going to snitch on us. And so we were united in community, so it made it easier for our parents to allow us to go outside. And right now, like, it just doesn't happen that way. And so working with fathers to try to let them know that, like, yes, you are responsible for your family and you're the only one that can do it. No one's going to come save you, but you do need to have a community around you, right? Ideally close, right? A closer knit community, but it doesn't always end up that way, right? You may have to commute a little bit to get your kids to go play with other kids and get outside.
Yeah.
But the world is what you create, right? Like the things that are out there are for you, right? I heard T.D. Jakes say this a couple years ago. It's interesting, and I try to apply it to as many things as I can. He's like, God never made a chair, right? He never made a table. He never built a house. What he did is he provided trees, and he gave you the opportunity to create what you needed out of it.
Yes.
Right? Like there are men in this world that are good men who are raising good children, who are responsible family men. They're out there. You got to go find them. You've got to create the community that you want. You've got to associate with the guys that are doing the same thing or on the same journey as you are. And if you're not, then, well, you don't get to sit at the table because there is no table.
Yeah. So did you allow your kids to walk to school? Or the school's too far?
Yeah, it's too far. It's unfortunate.
Gotcha, yeah. Yeah, so we allowed our kids to walk to school. Lucy and I allowed them, and it was a big decision. It was a big decision. But we really talked to them about talking to strangers. We talked to them a lot about that. We talked to them about if anybody touches you, they're going to tell you, don't tell somebody, because that's the worst thing. You got to tell somebody. You got to talk. We talked to them about, we talked to them a lot. I talked to them about everything. So they're allowed to walk to. We finally allowed it, and financially, it was killing us.
Yeah.
Financially, put them in a daycare, it was killing us. But I used to have this thing with the boys for you to play video games. You could play it all day. You can't play it on the weekdays, but you could play it all day on the Saturday, Sunday. But you got to go do the loop, and the loop is a mile. So I used to run it with them. And we used to go, okay, let's go do the loop. Man, they used to hustle, but they used to run it. Come back home, they got all day to play now. Right? They did the loop, I'm cool. So then, this might have been about 8 years ago, something like that. Boy, not 8, they're in college. So they said, Dad, when you told us, because then it got to the point to where they got old enough, I don't need to be with them. And plus, they'll beat me anyway, so my ego couldn't handle it. So then I was sending them out. I said, hey, get up. Time for you guys to go run the loop. And they'll be mad, upset. And Tommy told me this not too long ago. It wasn't that long ago. But he said, Dad, we didn't run the loop. We were playing with Steven. We were playing with this. I go, job done.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I wanted you guys out. I didn't want you guys in the house. So if you guys went and played with Steven, played baseball, did this with Steven, or whoever you guys were with, that my job is done. I wanted you guys out. I wanted you guys to have those experience. Go break, and not that I wanted to, but go break a window. Come back and say, Dad, we threw the ball over the ball. I'll take it. You know what I mean? Those experiences that we used to take them to the doctors a lot. They'll have these scrapes and bruises and whatever, bumps. And the doctor was so happy that she saw our boys with scrapes. She goes, you don't know how many kids have no scars. None. I was like, oh, I didn't realize it, because Lucy and I, we made the boys go out, do something, even if it is in the front yard, go do something. My dad would come over. If I'm at work, my dad come over, the boys would be in the front yard playing, and if it's just them, it's just them. So it's kids, man, and parenting. What does a typical fatherhood coaching session look like?
I would say they're not typical, right? Like everybody kind of has different things that they're working on, different stages of fatherhood. I will say the thing that's kind of the common trend or the common through point is we do a lot of work on the man, right? Because father is a title given to a man. Yeah. Best title in the world, but a title nonetheless, right? So if they say heavy is the head that holds the crown. If your neck ain't strong, that head is like you know what I mean? You'd be like a newborn baby. So we have to build that guy up, right? And there's that can mean a lot of things. Everybody comes in with different stuff. But I say common things is
is there a form they fill out? Like
yes.
Is there... Okay.
There's like an intake sheet, and guys are answering questions kind of about what are some of the things that are plaguing them. What are the things that they are hoping to accomplish through coaching? What is their experience in coaching, right? I think that's important, right? Because a lot of guys have never been coached. As an athlete, it's hard for me sometimes to realize that like most people aren't athletes. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like all the people I was associated with in growing up, everybody was an athlete. Mm-hmm. But then on the outside in the real world, I didn't think about this. Like on the football team, I don't remember how many were in high school, but let's just put a high number on it and say it was like 100 guys on the team with 3,000 kids in the school. Yeah, that's not a lot of people. Yeah,
not a lot of people. Yeah.
So most of those people weren't athletes, and so people haven't been coached before. They don't know how to receive coaching. And so I think that's important. But one of the things that we constantly work on is connecting with your identity.
Okay.
I said that, I talked about it a little bit earlier. Identity kind of answers who you are. It answers that question. Who am I? Because that's going to be your guiding light as you kind of work through this program is each day you have to connect with your identity statement, right? Who you are, who you serve, what type of leader you are, that kind of stuff. Because the actions that I'm going to take today are all based on that, right? I'm a husband, I'm a father, whatever those things are, whatever those things that you identify yourself as being or wanting to be, right? And then I say, if it's not who you are right now and it's somebody or something that you want to be, you have to act like it now until you become it, right? You have to want to be it before you become it, and you have to take the action. So what does a man, whatever the things are that you list that are the man that you want to be, okay, what are the things that he does every day?
Gotcha.
Right?
Now, do you help out with that process?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
okay. In my Bible study, we talk about this. We talk about being a man and about, but we have some younger guys there, and a lot of guys just say, "Oh, you got to do this, you got to do that to be a man," right?
Right.
But they don't explain what that looks like.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We all say, "Hey, man, you need to just be a man. You need to man up." What is man up? What is what is it like? What does that look like?
So I think I like to use athletics a lot, and if I got a guy that's not an athlete, then I'll change it up, right? If let's say he's an academic, but I'll use athletics just for this because let's say as an athlete you want to be a professional, athlete, you pick I want to be Khalil Dorsey, right? Okay, so now I got to look at him and I got to say, okay, what are the things that he does really well? What are the things that I do right now that I need to change in order to do what he does, right? And then I need to get really clear on it. I can have a general idea. It's like, I want to be an NFL cornerback. But if I don't pick a person first that I want to emulate, then that's a very broad goal and I'm not going to hit it, right? Because there's too many variables that I don't even know. So then I got to pick, no, I'll go NFL cornerback. Now I need to be because now once I pick a person, I can look at the specific measurables that guy has, because now I can compare something, right? He's, let's say he's 6 feet tall, I'm 5'11". Okay, I'm not going to get that one, but I'm close, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like now I can start to gauge where I'm at. And instead of just saying, like you would say, be a man is a blanket statement. I want to be an NFL player. But if you look, a kicker and an offensive lineman are two of the most different people in the world, right? So when you say, I just want to be an NFL player, it's going to be very hard for you to get there without picking something to hold on to or some level of things to hold on to. Like if I'm 5'10", 165, I'm not going to be an offensive lineman no matter how much I try, right? Not in the NFL. Like I can go back, and at this point now you can be a 14U offensive lineman at 5'10", 185. So like you have to get very clear. And I think that's something that one of the things that we do is we do a road mapping call very early on in the process. And what we talk about is, I think everybody at this point uses some type of GPS system, right? Whether you get in the car, you use Waze, or you use the maps feature on whatever phone or device you have. There's a couple of things that you have to have in order to get directions. One, you have to know where you are, right? Luckily for us, our phone tells us our location, but you have to know where you are, and then you have to know where you want to go, right? Okay. Once you put in those two things, is that a dive identifying your weaknesses too and your strengths? Yes, and then this is why I'll get to that. It's a roadmap, right? Okay, right. So okay, I'm here. I need to get to here, and then it gives me a series of routes. Right? It tells me this one's the fastest, this one's got tolls, this one is, I'm avoiding whatever, right? They give you a couple of different options. Those are the things now where I'm like, okay, I don't have fast pass, so I can't go to the toll roads, or I'm gonna have to pay, right? Or, if I want to avoid freeways, like now I'm looking at the things that are, okay, these are the things that I can actually do. Right? These are the things that I actually have access to. Now, there may be some things that I can work towards and build towards, but at this moment, I need to take the fastest route, whatever that is, right? And then as I'm along the journey, I think a lot of people get to a point where we're on this journey and something isn't going the way that we thought it was, and we just turn around and go back home. Right? But that's not how it works, right? If you're on your GPS and you hit a roadblock, it suggests another route.
Another route reroute.
And it never tells you to go back and start over. It just says, hey, make a left here, make a right here, and then, you get back on track. And I think that's something that's important to look at too. And we talk about that, is that there are going to be roadblocks, but the reality is the roadblock is the way. Right? You're going to run into, like I mentioned earlier, I'm 5'11", he's 6 feet. I'm not going to get there. Okay, so what do I need to do that's going to equate that difference, right? Like, I'm not going to get to his height, but maybe if I'm a little faster or if I'm a little more explosive, I can make up for that height difference. Maybe I'm a little more physical on the line, so I don't need to be as tall because I'm playing. T-shirt. Yeah,
the roadblock is away. You got to put that on a T-shirt. Sorry about that. Keep going.
Yeah, like I'm a play in the trail position more often than not. So if I position myself based on my height, I'm going to still be able to deflect the ball. I don't need to be as tall, right? Like there's things that you discover that, maybe you don't add up to the superstar that you're trying to become, but there are ways that you make up for it in other things that you do.
Got you, man. Yeah, that's a bar, man. The roadblock is the way. That's a bar. So the challenges of different fathers. A different father, different stages. Now, let's say I'm a father that's a single father or stepfather or adoptive father. Do you have that roadmap too? Or is that the same? Do you go the same process?
No, you know what? I think they're different, right? Even those three situations are very different. But I think this is why there's a larger focus on the man, is because it's more about who he wants to become versus the type, like I'm a stepdad or I'm a single father. Like all of that's the same. I'm not a single father, but I still want to be the best father that I can be. Just like a single father wants to be the best father he can be. Our situations are different. Some of the ways that we have to go about it are going to be different, but ultimately our goal is going to be the same. Right? We're both trying to get to the finish line, and the reality is there is no finish line, right? The race is the steps that you take. Like everything is the process, right? Everything is the journey, right? Because once you get to the finish line, there's going to be another finish line, right? So right? You set the goal of being a great father, and then you just work the process all along the way, right? Like I tell guys all the time is you're doing all this work right now, and it's commendable, and you appreciate it, and your wife appreciates it, and your family, your kids love you for it. But you aren't going to know for real if you're a real good father until they have kids somewhere down the line, right? Like you won't know that you're a good father until you see them parent their kids, or they tell you, "Hey, I'm never going to parent like you." Yeah. And then you question yourself like, dang, but then they come back a couple years later with better understanding and like, damn, man, you really did a great job. That's when you know, right? And so that's why I say you focus on the process, because if you get so focused on the goal, you're going to lose sight of the things that you need to do on a daily basis in order to become who you want to become. So those guys have very different routes to get there, but the goal is the same. And so every guy gets kind of coached differently in the one-on-one sense. In the group sense, we're all working towards the same thing.
So you said a group sense. So you do it there's a group session there too? So like a community that could... That's important. Man, that's important.
The group, I feel, and to be completely honest, the group might be in a lot of cases more important than the individual sessions. Because the individual sessions there's a little bit of complaining in the individual sessions, you know what I mean? Because it's just me and you, and like you can complain about your situation, and I'm your coach, so like I can hold your feet to the fire and I can encourage you and hold you accountable, but I'm supposed to be empathetic to your situation, and I am, don't get me wrong, but like then in the group it's like, dog, you better get your together. Like, what you talking about? Like, you said when you came in, you said this is who you want to be, and I'm not talking about me saying that, it's the other guys in the group, right? Because that one, you can bounce your ideas off of other people who've maybe been where you are, or have come through the fire already, and they can give you suggestions. They can either support or refute your stance on something. They help you to feel stronger about what you feel, or to question it. Like, hey, maybe what I'm saying isn't the reality, and this isn't really the problem. And I think too many of us don't have other people in our lives. I think I saw a study, and this is funny, and it's changed. In 2019, there was a study, and I hate saying this because I don't have I got to go back and get the facts so I can say so-and-so did a study, because then there's so many people on the internet saying that this is this and this is that, and it's not true. But there was a study essentially that said that the average male had 3 friends. And this was like 2019 or whatever. So like three people they call friends, not people they work with or people that they associate with on the day, but like actual friends. Like if something happened, they would call them. More recently, I want to say last year, they did the same study and followed up with those guys. And now the average guy has like 1.3 friends, right? Like if something was happening with your family, this is the one guy that you would call, right? And so as guys are progressing and guys are getting older as fathers or as parents, they have less and less people to talk to about their situation. And for whatever reason, right? There's a multitude of reasons that could be happening, right? Just natural selection or naturally growing apart or we're moving around.
Yeah. That's why the barbershop is important.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, because that group setting that you're talking about just made me think about the barbershop. Made me think about, because I like to go and press buttons, right? But part of my pressing buttons is talking. We get to talk amongst men, and we get to. There's no women there.
Where else? Where else do you do it?
Yeah, where else? We get to talk, and so I would come up with a question about religion, about politics. Yesterday we got into the conversation of I brought up, is Trump doing it right?
Mm-hmm.
And can I have a different opinion than you? Being black, can I have I like Trump opinion? And I'm doing it just to see what they say, and it became a really good conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and because I read this book called Rethink. Like, why do we think a certain way? Why are we like being Democrats or being this the way we were raised? Why do we? And we need to rethink that. Sometimes we need to sit back and give it a thought about our own beliefs. So yeah, I mean, that group setting is important. You know, is that online?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay, like a Zoom session. Okay.
Right, exactly. You know what the beautiful thing about the barbershop is one, because my cousin owned a barbershop when I was younger, so I swept, cleaned up, and whatever. I hung out. I just go there and be there all day, right? Is you have kids in there, you have teenagers in there, you have grown men in there, and it for the, I don't know if this is right. I'm just going to say it and
say it.
Whatever happens, right? There is no formal rites of passage in America, right? Like there isn't one. But I think in the black community, especially, because I don't know what the other barbershops is like. I don't really know what happens over there. But I know in our community, the barbershop was the only place that a 12-year-old and a 20-year-old could talk to a 40-year-old about a topic and get a full 40 years of understanding.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And really get like a grasp on what's really like that conversation that you just talked about. I would be in there like Saturday morning trying to get my hair cut and they talking around me. I didn't know what was going on, but like I had a knowledge of something that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Right?
Yeah.
It sets me up now to years down the line. Now I'm rethinking because you said something in the barbershop 10 years ago. Right? Like now I have an understanding of something that I previously wouldn't have a conversation. And it's not my father's fault. Like my dad could have it, but what's going to make him have that conversation?
Yeah.
With us in the house? Nothing. No, he's no reason to talk to his kids about, is Trump doing it right? But in the barbershop, they have that conversation and sometimes the conversations get out of control and guys are talking about stuff maybe they shouldn't talk about.
And that's part of the fun too.
Yeah, but that's also a full experience that a young man gets to have that he wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah.
Right. And because there is no formal setting for that to happen, right? Like we don't have, and this is maybe something that churches can do, is have a rites of passage where fathers and their teenage sons go on trips together and maybe spend a week and they're camping or whatever and they just talk about manhood or do manhood things. But there isn't a formal thing like that where everyone goes through it. Everybody, as far as I know, until they get like me and they don't have no hair, goes to the barbershop. Right. And that's one thing I miss. Like I don't go to the barbershop no more, but I do have communities of guys that I talk to.
You can still go.
Yeah, just go and sit in there,
go.
Right? Like, what you here for?
No, this right here, because there's one guy I know, he's bald. He go in just to get this done. It's a trip, man. But yeah. That barbershop, it's fading, I think, because now they're appointment only.
Yep.
And Jay, my barber, he allows me, and I'm going to try to get him on the podcast. He allows me, he gets upset, but I just walk in. I get him in between. What I like to do is walk in and he has somebody in the chair, and then there's only 2 people in the shop two barbers in the shop, and he had somebody in the chair. And then I'm sitting there, I'll just start coming up with questions, coming up with a topic to see what sticks, and then go from there. And especially if there's a young man, I like to bring up, because most guys, kids there so far has been athletes. So I'll say, hey, what do you guys think about the NIL? We'll bring up that question, and then the loyalty question, the transfers, all that stuff. So it's great conversation, because now you got the barbers, you got the older guy that's in one chair, and then the younger kid that's there, and we get to have that conversation. What's the most rewarding aspect of your work?
Man, most rewarding is obviously to see a guy come into the program with a level of uncertainty, of self-doubt or imposter syndrome or something like that, and just really, really, really get a good grasp of who he is and who he can be as a leader. And then, you talk to him or you see him and he's just like, he's crushing it, leading his family. I think that's, for me, the most fulfilling part, because I don't think that me as an individual, I don't have a big enough platform to change the world, right? But I do think that I can change not change, but I can help the next man. And through a ripple effect, right? Like one man at a time, one household at a time, one community at a time, and it just gradually spreads. Like, I will not live to see the world that I'm trying to help create, but through echoes of the things that I'm doing, guys will get better, families will get better. Somewhat selfishly, like, my kids will go out into a world with these fathers who have parented their children in a certain way, and then they get to experience it in that way. And that's probably the most fulfilling thing, is that guys come into the program and they don't leave, right? Like, they accomplish what they try to accomplish, but they hang out. Like, they're just still in the community, still showing up for the calls, and like the barbershop. Like, there was times that you would go to the barbershop, and maybe even still, or you didn't need a cut. You didn't really need a cut. Like, you could probably get by a little bit longer, but you went in there for the camaraderie, and you went in there for the conversation, and you went in there because that is where you connected to the real world. And I think we're losing that. I do think appointments are killing that, but there is a business in barbering, right? Like, they have to take care of their families, and I can't argue with that. But I think fulfillment for me comes from serving other people.
Gotcha. Serving, man. That's what God want us to do. So we're going to wrap it up, and I have two more questions for you.
Let's do it.
One is, what's the biggest lesson you learned from your clients? And what's one thing you wish you would have known as a father that you didn't know?
I think I can probably answer those two questions with the same answer.
Gotcha.
I think, and we talked about it earlier, is one of the most important things I think any man can learn is that you are enough. You are the father that your children need. You're him, right? As kids say nowadays, you are exactly who you're supposed to be in this moment. Not to say that you can't be better, but right now you are exactly who you're supposed to be on this part of your journey. I had to learn that for myself, because there was a lot of there was a lot of reaching and trying to be something, or trying to I was constantly striving to be something else and never fully appreciating or being present in the moment that I was in, or always thinking that what I was doing right now wasn't enough. And again, you can be better, but right now who you are is exactly who you're supposed to be. You didn't plan this, right? Like, God planned this for you. Like, you're on a journey that he orchestrated for you, and his will be done. Like, if it was up to me right now, I'd be a billionaire, and my kids will be super, super smart, and they'll have all the opportunities in the world. And but that's not the trajectory that we're on, right? This is the path that he's laid out in front of us. And it's my job to walk that path with pride and with diligence, not pride in a way that I'm boasting or bragging, but with pride in the fact that I am who he created me to be, and I'm on a journey to become more, but I appreciate the steps that I'm taking.
Amen. Man, that's great lesson here. Quick recap is that you're working on the man.
Mm-hmm.
You're working on their identity. You build roadmaps to their journey and becoming better fathers, and you encourage them to just grow. And you allow them to do that. I'd like to thank you. Thank you for your time. Where can people find you? Where can our listeners find you?
Okay.
And is there anything else that they should, let me stop. Where can our listeners find you?
All right.
Get on another tangent.
Yeah, no, that's cool. It's cool. I got time. I think I try to keep it as simple as I can. Okay. I'm probably most active on Instagram at 4Fit Fatherhood, the number 4 Fit Fatherhood. But I'm also on X the same way, on TikTok. I'm not on either one of those very often, but if you want to reach out or you want to find some content, it's there. The website is 4fitfatherhood.com. The email is 4fitfatherhood@gmail. So if you know the 4Fit Fatherhood, put something else behind it, you'll find me. I try to keep it. I try to keep it as simple as I can because I know there's a whole lot of stuff out there. I know as men, we're busy. We got a ton of stuff. Our mind is all over the place. If I got to remember a bunch of different things to get in contact with somebody, I'm just not going to get into contact with them.
I hear you. Same here. Well, I appreciate you, man. God bless you. May God continue to bless you with all your endeavors, all your entrepreneur endeavors, all those hats that you wear, and you take care, man.
Absolutely. You too, brother.
All right.